Yo, we're up and running. What's up, Seryux, Wolf May, Ollie Kavari, Scrub Lord 999. Hello there, Parker Bowman. Oh my god. Is that an actual donation? This is what I wanted to ask you guys. I think I might have it set up so that you can actually do stuff like that now. The really weird thing about YouTube is they don't let you test if any of these features work unless you do a public stream. So you just have to set it all up and then just go and hope it works. Thank you so much, Panda Shoes. I'll remember that forever. That's the first time since I've ever done content that anybody's made a donation to me. That's incredible. Thank you so much. What's up, Forever Useless? Davide. What's up, Schlumpsky? Green Alex 89. Thank you again, Panda Shoes. That's amazing. When I start picking mods, if you're interested, you're first in line. My fans can be a handful, but they're, for the most part, really funny. Anything is allowed pretty much as long as they're funny. And don't break the YouTube rules, I guess. While we're still gathering up, I actually wanted to show you guys something. I moved back from Japan, right? And before I get my own place here, I'm staying for a while with my parents right now, which is where I am right now. But while I was living in Japan, my parents moved, right? So they had to take everything that I owned that was still in Sweden, they put it in boxes and they put it in storage. So, oh my god, thank you so much, Connor Scully. Thank you so much. That is incredible. It's actually working. Thank you. Thank you so much. So all my stuff is in storage, right? And I've been going through these boxes. It's like, imagine your entire life from the age of you're born to 25. It was all in these boxes, right? And I found all this cool stuff. For example, no joke, my actual Pokemon card collection. And I was deep into Pokemon cards as a kid. I was deep into Pokemon full stop. But I would go to tournaments and stuff and play with these cards. And it's funny, even when I was a kid, it's not just the rarest cards. I have a pile of rare cards over here. But I've arranged them for the whole thing to look good. So I've got a Pikachu, Raichu page here. I've got one that's all Magnemites, because I used to really like Magnemite. What's up, Thomas Skullerud? And I also found, some of you guys have seen this in the background, he's been standing in the window. It's my Patrick Bateman action figure, because American Psycho is one of my favorite books of all time. And so my friend got me this for my 20th birthday. And it came with business cards, a briefcase, a couple of different weapons. And you can turn him on. And if you walk past him, he will say quotes from the movie. So he's picked him up from the printers yesterday. And that's Bone. He has all of those. Figuring if I'm going to be a real streamer, I'm going to have some 80s pop culture references, some fairy lights. I'm going to have to start wearing TMNT shirts and everything. A little X-Wing somewhere in the background. Just so you guys know that I'm home with the Downies. You can turn him on. I have to return some videotapes. Yeah, exactly. He would approve. A weird thing is, my music taste, no joke, was influenced by Patrick Bateman, the character in the book. Because there will be a chapter in the middle of it where he just talks about this one Whitney Houston production for a chapter. And he's like, of course, you know, she was 21 at the time. She had Jerome Jackson producing, and he talks about the lyrics and everything. And I started listening a lot to Whitney Houston after that, and I got really into her. And that's how I started listening to a lot of Phil Collins and stuff as well. But I don't like Huey Lewis and the News. Not my thing. We're going to get going with this, but how's the music? How's the sound? Does it sound okay so far? Do you guys have your drinks? It's Tekken and coffee, but you can drink anything you want. You can do exactly what you want, as long as you use protection. What's up, Darpin does the talking. My day's been pretty good. I actually went swimming, which, like an hour before the stream, you just jump in and it really sort of, you know, resets your mind a little bit. Had a good day. Good lunch. Music isn't weird enough. I'll find some weirder music. Nice to see you streaming, man. Is it fun for you as far? It's been great so far. This is the second time. And I'm going to try and do not as much gameplay, but kind of talking, looking at, you know, the internet now. Because if this works, we can do stuff like, you know, a trailer comes out or the main man says something funny in a video and we can watch it and we can make fun of it together. But I'm going to have to like change the setup a little bit if I want to play, because, you know, I got to have room to hold the controller and stuff. Are the stream times negotiable? They're definitely negotiable. The only reason I started when I did now is that if I look at demographics of like my viewership, it's like middle of Europe and then the two coasts in America mainly. And so they said this weird, I was looking at some stupid like, you know, ways to get views on YouTube sort of a thing, you know. Not that I really worry that much about that sort of thing, but they said 5 o'clock here will be lunchtime in New York, and it will be when people are on their way to work in LA, which means that they all have like a window when they might want to watch their phones. But I should really be doing it when it's evening in the US, because the majority of my viewers are American anyway. TMM watches Frame Whisperer watches TMM. You know, did I tell you guys about this? One of my favorite video ideas that I've ever had, and I'm almost pissed at myself for not making it, was King J got sponsored. So we did like a tour of his like his new, you know, setup, his station, right? And then Main Man reacted to that, and then I think King J reacted back. So I wanted to place a web camera with a cactus in front of it, or like a house plant, like one of my house plants. And then I was going to have that watch me watch that video. So it would be my plant reacting to me, reacting to King J, reacting to the Main Man, reacting to King J getting sponsored. But it was like, I don't know, it was kind of difficult to produce. And I got a hold of Adrian and I asked him if it would be cool. But I never talked to King J about it, so I didn't want to, like, you know, just assume that he would be cool with it. But it would have been a funny video. Alright, guys. Do you guys want to get going? Do you want to start talking a little bit about Tekken? I just wanted to give it a while for people to gather up. You about ready to take off? Please don't become a React Andy. I actually really like Asmongold. Is that a dangerous thing to say? I played World of Warcraft for a long time. I was deep into World of Warcraft, so, you know. But no, I'm not going to sit here watching other people's videos. Not really my thing. You like React vids? You know, one thing that I really like is like when it's something I love, that I listen to a lot or that I watch a lot. If I go and watch somebody else react to it and like genuinely see it for the first time, there's so many of those reaction videos out there where it's like first time ever hearing, you know, Queen or whatever, and it's obviously not. But genuinely watching somebody watch Lord of the Rings for the first time, or listen to like my favorite artist, my favorite rapper is a guy called Aesop Rock, and he's always been like almost famous. He's never broken through into the mainstream, but he's like I mean, one of the greatest rappers of all time, no question. And when somebody finds him, watching them listen to that is really cool, because it gives you kind of that feeling of doing it for the first time, of like rediscovering it almost. You can sort of, I think it's why you want to watch funny shows and comedies and stuff with people, because it's kind of like you're riding a wave of excitement together. It's difficult to get it going alone. Yeah, Aesop Rock is amazing. The new, well, it's not that new anymore, but Spirit World Field Guide might be his best album ever. But it's crazy because Mystery Fish, or the Impossible Kid, was amazing too. So he's like my favorite rapper of all time at his career high. I'm not Womble. I'm not talking about ASAP Rocky. I'm talking about Aesop Rock. They're two different artists. Very different style. You tried reacting to a snake edge? That'd be funny. We should do a reaction video where we react to moves. Bring back Whisperina. I mean, that was going to be a... yeah, there's an Aesop Rock. He's a very different artist, but he's... I mean, I would say... It's a strong statement, but I would say the greatest living lyricist in rap. Yeah, Whisperino's going to be a running joke. Because Kunimitsu had been revealed, and it was revealed that it was a daughter character. And it's weird because we never really saw the original Kunimitsu, right? Nobody knows how old she is. And there was no reason to make like a younger version of her because it was just a mask, you know? But apparently, I think Namco are worried that Tekken fans will not be interested in a character that isn't... Yeah, MF Doom. I said greatest living, though. I was so... I mean, I didn't even know that Doom was dead. It took me like a while to find out. He'd been dead for weeks. And somebody just said... Because I think his family, out of respect, just wanted to like keep it... you know... I don't know, stay classy about it, because I don't know exactly how he died, but... Yeah. Rip Doom. Genius. Yeah, so they released like a Kunimitsu daughter character, right? Because apparently the characters have to be really young, so I was like, well, I'm 30. I was 31 at the time. Am I too old to be interesting to people who play Tekken? You know, maybe I should have a daughter too. So I just came up with Whisperina, but I was going to do a voice and I couldn't come up with a funny voice. So I realized it's probably even better if I just don't show my face and don't do a voice and pretend I'm a young girl, because that's essentially what Namco are doing with the designs anyway. It's not that they're inventing a new younger character. They're just saying, oh, this character that was 40, here's a, you know, we gave her a haircut, now she's 16. Labor Days was really tight. But that's back when it was, he was, I don't know. Things were a lot darker back then. And I think now he's definitely not like a super positive artist all the time. But it's a lot more like spiritual and weird now. It's a lot more like a fairy tale, an album. So I think what he's doing now in terms of albums is more interesting. Alright, guys. Scrub Love 999, thank you so much. That's extremely cool, you guys. Whisperina voice with normal frame whisper was hilarious. Thank you. It was kind of a low effort thing though. I should have done a voice. I used to do impressions. I'm not very good. The only ones I can still do quite well are Alan Rickman, and I can do Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but I'm not going to try that here. I'm way too new to streaming to do something like mess it up and be that embarrassed already. Alright, let's have a look at Reddit. Let's get going. Tekken and coffee. Grab your coffee or whatever you're drinking. We've got a Tekken lore strength tier list. Sorry, I gotta have this up so I can see the chat. And I've seen a couple of these. People like to make them. It's like if the Tekken characters were to really fight, who would win? And I think that I always think the exact same thing when I see a tier list like this, which is just grab Kuma, put him on top, and then worry about everything else later. Because there's just no way like any human is gonna beat a grizzly bear in a fight, right? I know some people in the chat are going to be like, well, if the human knows Jeet Kune Do or whatever, you know, my sensei could take him. My dad works at Nintendo. But, I mean, I've seen a small brown bear once. I think, like, an adult grizzly bear, how big are they? I think they're like 700 pounds. So that's a bit more than 300 kilos, right? So that's like, what, 4 fat guys? You know, bears, they have, when you see those big bears that have those chunky, it looks like lumps of fat all over the back. It's all jiggly up there. It has good jiggle physics, you know. Like Nina when she spawns in. The thing when Nina comes on stage, she spawns in before her tits. And then the camera turns on, so she spawns, and then you can see her boobs just as the camera goes, sort of turn on, and they're still swinging. Like they had to run before the camera went. Are you considering streaming on Twitch? I'd love to. I just decided to try it here first, just to see if it works. And I've heard that streaming on YouTube is going to like be a thing, and it's going to be the next thing. I don't know if that's true. I know nothing about this, but I'll do a little bit like this and sort of wait for news on Tekken 8 and see which way the wind's blowing. And if this works, we might do it here. Otherwise, you know, I might try Twitch. But I think, yeah, it's like 300 plus kilos for a big bear, right? And those lumps of fat, those tits on the back, that's not like fat storage for winter. It's not like a camel. Those are the muscles attached to the forelimbs, right? And they're all for pulling, because bears, they stick both their hands in the ground and they tear out like giant chunks of dirt and roots to build like entire underground dens, right? And bears know jujitsu. There's that video that Joe Rogan used to watch on his show where 2 bears are wrestling and one of them passes guard on the other and establishes side control. Yeah, I don't reckon there's a single character in the roster. Yeah, not a single character in the roster who could realistically beat Kuma. Connor Scully, do you think I dance around? Big shout out? I don't know. I gotta work on my reactions. I don't know what you get. If you're willing to risk it, then go ahead. Somebody just got shot. That's the first time in my chat too. Khabib used to wrestle bears when he was young. Did he used to like wrestle big adult males though? Gigas, yeah, I guess there are a couple of characters maybe, but yeah. I don't know. I think it's Kuma and then everybody else. I've played Tekken for a very long time, but I've just discovered that you can air grab to counter a wake up spring kick. Let's have a look. Right, yeah, of course. So this is not something that's going to work on every character. This is just a character. Oh my god. Big shout out. Thank you so much. I can't get up to dance because I've got like cables all over me, but I'll do this. Thank you so much. That's amazing, man. That means a lot. Thank you, Connor Scully. If you want to ask any questions in the chat, anything you want me to talk about, I'll obviously be happy to answer. What do you think of Marduk? Don't you think it's harder to play against him when you have more knowledge of the character, meaning all the mix-ups and cheese and godlike moves? I don't know. I don't know if Marduk is harder to play against when you know a lot. I think he's hard to play against full stop. But yeah, he's got a lot of... I think you gotta be aware of what you can do against his Oki, because his Oki is like the best in the game, right? You can get destroyed with one knockdown. But you know, it's good whether or not you know the rules. So I don't know, but it is a funny thing about Tekken that you can, like, a mix-up can be worse if the opponent knows that it's the mix-up, because otherwise they would never duck against it, kind of a thing. What's up, everyone? Thank you, Connor Scully. So yeah, the air grab. There are a couple of characters in the game who, when you hit with any throw input, and you connect with somebody who's in the airborne state, because we have these states now, or we've had them, but now you can see whether you're in a state or not using the frame data display. So there's, you know, air, and there's launch, and there's power crush, and a couple of different states. And if you're in an air state and one of those characters they hit you with one of those throws, then they're going to convert that into their version of an air throw. This was a stance throw though. But then there are characters like Marduk. We talked about Marduk. You know, if he does a generic throw, it's kind of like Giga's. He just grabs them, and I think he's, you know, slings them behind him. But you can do the difficult one where he does the elbow drop, and that's the optimal combo damage ender for him in a lot of combos. But this is not something that's going to work on all characters, or using all characters. Works on Gigas though. He does the Nicolas Cage. Shadaloo Doll Lily. You know what's fun about this art? It doesn't feel at all like the artist has sort of emphasized or focused mostly on the ass and thighs. It's not like that at all. There's not like there's a magnifying glass right here. There's no way this guy drew a great ass and a pair of legs and then added a character around it. It almost looks a little bit like a forced perspective. Harris, been watching your video for years. So excited that you started streaming lately, but it's 11 p.m. in my time zone. I'm about to sleep. I'm really sorry to hear that, dude, but it's not like I'm going to be doing streams at this time every time. Sometimes I'm going to change it up a lot. But thank you so much for that donation. And yeah, we're going to find a time that works for as many people as possible, but then I'll still change it up. Sleep well, man. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It really does. I mean, it's weird. I think a lot of people who like watch streams, they think about what it would be like if they actually streamed. And then now that I'm doing it and like talking to the chat, yeah, it's pretty bizarre. I love you too, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Sleep well. Have a great day tomorrow. I'll be streaming again soon. Anything else going on? Will I stream DNF Duel? Yeah, Definitely. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to play it for long because everybody's predicting that the game, including me, that the game's going to be dead within like 2 weeks of release. But I don't know. I'm definitely going to play it when it comes out, see if I enjoy it, see what happens with it. But I don't know if it's going to be long term. My guess is it's going to be a little bit like Soul Calibur 6 and Strive for me, where I start playing them and I get really into it and I have a lot of fun, and then there's a Tekken update and I have to go back, and once I go back to Tekken I can't stop. What's your favorite Tekken community beef? I'm not interested at all in that sort of thing, but I had a lot of fun with the whole Scrubman thing. Might be one of my favorite community moments in the history of Tekken, because it's like, it's perfectly funny. It's like Tim and Eric funny. Now it's not over. We're gonna keep going. JDCR versus Knee gave us some cool matches. Yeah. I think if you end up getting caught in online beef, you've already lost. Unless you're doing it deliberately for fun and you're trying to troll somebody, but... Are you going to play D2R Ladder? Or are you going to stream it? I don't know. I played Diablo 2 for, years and years and years as a kid. And I reinstall it about once every year and sort of play through it. I played pretty much every build in the game. And so, for me, like, I really like the way it looks. It's cool that we have a remastered version. But if they're not going to change balance, if they're not going to make abilities better... So we get new builds. I didn't really see a point in jumping in, but now they have. Now they've apparently, made Summoning Druid better. There's all these new builds. So I'm really interested and I might try it, but I'm not going to promise anything. What's your opinion on Sephi Black as one of the few Miguel mains around? Well, I absolutely adore Sephi Black. I've been a fan of his since I started playing. Because he's one of the few people who mained my favorite character. And then we've only talked on a couple of podcasts, and we had a lot of fun. He's got a sense of humor. And yeah, I just really like him. But we've played once online, and I got really lucky and managed to beat him. But yeah, I have a feeling I'm not going to be as lucky next time. Frame Whisperer, in your honest opinion, do you think there is a parallel between character choice and how fast that person gains an understanding of the fundamentals of the game? It's another thing that people worry about, right? You hear, or you see a lot of posts that are like, is this a good character to learn the game with? Somebody asked me yesterday, I think, is Leroy a good character to learn the game with? And, there are so many things that you have to learn in this game that have nothing to do with what character you're playing at all. So you need to learn how movement works, and you need to learn how defense works. And even if you're not going to play a character that sidesteps a lot, if you're going to play Eddie or whatever, you still need to know what movement is like and how it works, because you're going to play against people who use it all the time. And then something that, Main Man talks a lot about is the whole thing with knowledge checks in this game. So it's a lot of matchup knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge checks. You need to learn all of those things. And they have nothing to do with what character you are playing. But I think there are characters that are very good for just float charting, going very hard and getting you really far without worrying about what you're doing with your character very much. So yeah, I guess there are characters like that, but if you're going to be good at the game, eventually you're going to have to learn like all the important things anyway. Sephi is super humble, yeah. Thank you, Luke. Big shoutouts to Luke, everybody. This is the guy who made art for Tekken's bar. Very talented artist. Time to upload the Giga's feet pick collection. Go for it, dude. You're gonna snipe my Reddit stream? That's high level strats, actually. Did I see the Leo player that won that tournament? Yeah, you're talking about, now I'm dropping his name, brain fart. Io Ritchie. And he actually, this is funny, he messaged me on Steam the day before the tournament, and he wanted to play like a set online. What's up, Akash Mondal? I'm doing great. Thank you. It's my favorite mug. Yeah, so he messaged me and he was like, do you want to play a set? And I said, suggested a time, and he said, I'm busy then because I'm going to go to this tournament and I'm trying to like prepare mentally. I want to have everything like done before I go. And then a couple of days later, I heard that he won the whole thing with Leia, which is amazing. So yeah. Amazing player, so cool. Imagine that this late in the game's lifespan to have like new competitive stars pop up with like characters that you never see. That's beautiful. That's exactly, if I'm gonna watch like tournaments and get interested in that whole thing again, which I'm not really, that's exactly the sort of thing to get me back. At Frame Whisperer, I've heard many high-ranked players, especially people who main King, say that grabs are useless at the top level, which I find interesting. What's your take on it? What's up, Axel? Throws are not useless at a top level at all, but you should expect almost all the time a good player to break reactable throws on reaction. Or like, as long as the throw isn't a throw mix-up. But characters like King can make a throw mix-up work, so you won't know exactly how you should break, so you have to guess. And that's gonna, work if they guess wrong. But even then, I think throws do get through. Some slip through, some go unbroken, even at a high level. It's not super common, but it happens. And you can use them to sort of, check the opponent, see if their reaction time is on point. You kind of have to do overkill with Gigas and see if they're going to break it, because if they don't, you get so much damage that it's just worth it. And then, for example, Gigas' 2-throw is another good example, because your back is to the wall, right? And if you throw them with a 2-throw, they go behind you, so you get wall advantage. And if they break it, they still go behind you. So it doesn't matter if they break. You still sort of achieve your goal, right? So I think throws have a role in the game. I think the reason a lot of high-level people say that is that throws, because we talk about 1 throws and 2 throws when we talk about generic throws in this game, but they're both broken with either punch button, right? But in earlier versions of the game, before 7, it wasn't like that. You had to break 1 throws 1 and 2 throws 2, which meant that you wouldn't get lucky that often if you were attempting those breaks. You just had to actually look and know. And so for people who are used to that in older games, it feels like throws took a huge step down in relative power. But I think that was something that the developers were trying to do to the game. They wanted throws to be weaker because throws are intimidating for new players. Do you think the throw system should change at all? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's in an okay place. I don't hate it. I think some throws need to change. I think there are a couple of throws in the game that are are wonky or weird or too bad or too good. There are plenty of throws that I would change, but the system itself is kind of. I mean, there are so many other worse parts of the game that you need to work on first before you start worrying about, generic throw mechanics. Yeah, learning to break throws is difficult, but I've seen people who go from like thinking that it's completely impossible to react to them to becoming really good at it, and I've seen it happen a couple of times. So it genuinely is something that you can learn. And I mean, it's not like I try and say this often, but it's not like pro players have some sort of amazing biological advantage over you and can achieve like things that you can't. Some people have better reaction speed and whatever, but it's designed to be within the parameters of what humans are capable of. You're supposed to be able to block a C below on reaction, but not all the time, which is why they impact as fast as they do, right? And then someone who's really sharp does it a bit more often. Paul's personality. Let's look at Reddit for a bit. Paul used to be viewed by the fans as a serious fighter, and in the main series he seemed to be, until later when the Alien plot developed, and people viewed him as a joke/comic relief. But is he really though? Think back to Tekken 3, where Paul Phoenix defeated Ogre, a tall green war god, or perhaps in Paul's view, a green alien. Why is he tall? Why would you describe him as tall? Not big, not huge, not hulking and scary, but tall? Isn't tall something you use when you describe like a guy who you think is really good looking? Tall, dark, and handsome. He's tall, green, and alien. I think it is true that Paul defeats or kills Ogre or whatever in the story, but I think Paul is an example of, you look at some of these fighting games, right, and they usually have like an Asian character for protagonist, but then you have like another iconic character that is usually like a blonde with, Ken, Paul, and it's so that there's like a main character for the Western audience to identify a bit with, and the Asian audience. So you've got Ryu and Ken, But yeah, I mean, we talked about it last time I streamed, but I think most Tekken characters are either like angry and like brooding all the time, or they're like, small girls, or they're like idiots and comic relief characters. You don't kind of have those three, like, you have to choose one. Paul can't be a serious character, because then he has to have like, a red eye, some sort of cursed hand, and he has to like, in the camera. Is there a guide for modding stage so it's less busy, clearer, and easier on the hardware? I bet there is. I've never actually modded Tekken. But there are so many like amazing stage mods. There's definitely going to be one where there's just, not much going on. He used to be a real cop, but now he's a funny cop. That's a pretty good comment. That's one of the best we've had so far. Some Tekken 8 logos. Speculation, I guess. But I mean, we saw the Street Fighter 6 logo. We should probably expect something sort of like this. Muted Law mod. Yeah, I need a muted Law mod and a muted Lydia mod. But you know what I need more than anything, honestly? Because I don't play with in-game music, right? And you spend a lot of time in the lobby when you play online, and there are a couple of characters that their feet make a sound. So it's, Lei and Eddie and a couple more, and they're just walking around all the time. So I'm like, watching something, trying to just wait for a match, and there's this constant clicking in your ears from the feet, and it's incredible to me that there's not an option to turn that off. And I've noticed something weird. This is obscure Tekken trivia for you if you haven't noticed it. Listen to what happens when you go into the lobby. I think it might be the same thing when you spawn in on a normal stage. You can hear the feet of Armor King the moment he spawns in. Just once, and then his feet go silent. I think it's because, we're talking Tekken feet lore now. I think it's because the other characters like stand on the ground, but maybe Armor King for some reason spawns just a tiny bit above the ground, and what you hear is him landing back down, and that happens before the camera shows him. But next time you hear like one click, like you hear the feet one time, it's Armor King spawning in before he goes silent. You guys knew we were gonna get to talking about Tekken feet at some point. I main him and I never noticed, yeah. King's hopping makes a sound, that's true, yeah. Eddie, Lei, and then you have to go back out and go back in, and then you get Chloe, and then it's even worse. It's incredible to me that there's no feature to fix that, because it's such an obvious thing. And I mean, Chloe didn't even do the sing and dance thing with her idle animation until recently. I think that's like a season 3 or season 4 thing. It's just like, yeah. A lot of like basic things you can't do in Tekken that you really should be able to do. Should hop kicks be minus 15? I tuned into a main man video and he said hop kicks are a crutch and should be removed or made minus 15. Apparently they're too strong these days because launchers in general are much stronger than they used to be, and that hop kicks are very easy to land. Love your videos and overall demeanor. You're such a positive voice in the community. Thank you so much, Section 8 DC. That's very kind of you. I'm obviously not really used to this. I wanted to, like, you know, be a bit more creative and funny in these first streams. I had a couple of ideas, but I think I have to pace myself and sort of get used to it a bit first, and then we're gonna do some weird stuff. Yeah, so do I think that hop kicks? I think that Adrian has a point here, right? He talks about hop kicks. They should be more punishable on block. I agree that a lot of fast launchers in the game are too powerful now just because combos are too powerful now, right? You get one hop kick now if you play Katarina, for example, and it's just such a huge reward that it almost makes sense to gamble on hop kicks, because if you eat a 12 or 13 frame punish, fair enough, depending on the matchup, that's not even that big, but if you get a hit, it can be a whole round. If she has the rage drive, it's, I mean, 100 damage or more. So I agree, but I completely disagree with going after specifically hop kicks. I think we have classes of launchers that are worse offenders in sort of the same way, and my big thing now is safe down forward twos. I mean, have you guys looked at really high level, when you look at like the top guys now, I feel like I see people get a lot of mileage out of safe down 4-2s, whether it's Shaheen, I mean Paul, amazing move, Ghost Range, High Crush, everything else, right? And those moves, yes, they don't launch crouchers, so they don't work for the mix-up situation, but they are safe, and the reward is huge, right? So it's almost like, would you take your down forward one, your fastest like 13 frame mid poke, add 2 frames of impact speed to it, you know, make it a little bit slower, but then give it a bit of high crush and make it a normal hit launcher. I mean, it's really good. But then you also have a bunch of extremely powerful safe on block orbitals in this game right now, and orbitals that are like fast enough that you can pretty much use them for mix-ups, even though they're a little bit slow for that. But because they're slower to impact, they get to launch crouchers, and they get to be safe, right? So they have the best of both worlds, kind of, like the hop kick and the down forward too, as long as they don't get, evaded somehow. And I think the best version maybe in the game could be Gigas, or sorry, not Gigas, Geese, right? His jumping orbital where he jumps forward. That has crush, it's got range, it's just super, super reliable and a fantastic move. And you can just like do it and it works, right? So, I mean, would I say Tekken 7 is too safe in general? Definitely. I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that I think Tekken has gotten way too safe, and I've been saying it for a long time because I think that block punishment is really cool. And I think that whiff punishment is really cool. And when you have moves that are really safe, and you have characters with so many safe moves that they can build a repertoire that doesn't contain unsafe moves, then people are going to gravitate towards those characters and use those repertoires. And so block punishment becomes diminished. And then you have really, really good recovery speed. And it also sort of makes whiff punishment more and more diminished, right? So if you're not going to whiff and block punish, and the movement is nerfed, just think about the environment that creates on the stage. It pushes the playstyle of Tekken towards two players standing in front of one another and trading mix-ups in a sort of rock, paper, scissors guessing game. My turn to mix, I'm plus my turn to mix again. Okay, didn't work, your turn to mix. And that's exactly the trend we've seen with gameplay in Tekken 7. If you look at the way it's played right now, it's gone from not only movement focused, people get very, very focused on specifically the movement from Tag 2 and stuff like that, but it's less block punishment, less whiff punishment, less movement, and then it's also less like technical fun input things. Tilde inputs, instant while standing. I mean, it doesn't really happen anymore. It's kind of rare for it to be like... So it's more now, okay, this is the low, the mix-up tool from this stance. This is the mid, this is the homing move, kind of. And then you just pick, and then the opponent goes. So yeah, I agree with Main Man that launchers in general are too safe. Oh my god, Lay7, thank you so much. Haven't watched you in years, but my question is, as someone just coming back and only knowing two easy characters in Lily and Claudio, how do you recommend to get through the frustration of learning a new character like Xiao Yu, who's harder to use? What's up, Le Ciervo? Here's a guy who's been in my chat or in my comment sections for years, and he always gets the joke, and he's always funny. I have a couple of viewers like that, and I just want you to know that I see you. But let's get back to this question, Lay7. Thank you so much again. The frustration of learning a new character is big and real in this game. And I have it myself all the time. I like decide that I'm gonna learn, Master Raven. I've done that maybe 100 times. It's time to learn Master Raven, and I sit down and I learn the combos and everything else, and then I go online, and it doesn't work well, and I get frustrated something else, and then I drop it, or I go back, and I keep working on it. But it's kind of random. But the biggest tip I can give you really is that usually, even though you know what you should be doing with your new character in practice mode or in theory, you've watched people do it. Like, okay, so you want to pick up Xiao Yu, and you're like, okay, the lead jab is really important. At least it used to be in like Tag 2. I don't know how she plays in 7, but I remember the lead jab being a big deal in Tag 2. And you learn, the back turn stuff and the Art of Phoenix and everything else. Having that like available to you really quickly, being able to do it right in a match is going to take a lot of time. So for me, I noticed that sometimes I need 100, 200 wins on a character where I knew the basics all along, but I'm actually able to soon as I block something, know what the punish is and then go to it without thinking. Because even if it's a tiny bit, if you're worrying and thinking and trying to decide with a character, then you're slow, and you're just going to get, you're going to lose to all these mix-ups and get rushed down. Or you're going to become, predictable. So I think my tip would be, if you really want to learn Xiao Yu, force yourself to keep playing her for like a long time, and if it's still not happening after like 200-300 wins, you know, maybe go back and reevaluate. But thank you so much, Seth. Thank you so much. Very kind. My friends play characters like Huarong and Feng and beat me every time I play Kanzia, and I don't want to give up that character. Can you give me any tip? It's so frustrating. Well, I can tell you guys a story, right? Or like just what happened with me when I started playing Tekken, because I got into it because I had 4 friends who played it all the time, and then I started hanging out more with them, and we were hanging around late at night, and everybody was just playing Tekken, right? And I was the worst. Like I haven't... Oh, thank you so much again, Lay7. Thank you so much. I'm going to get to your question in just a little bit, okay? So yeah. So I had like one guy always played Law, one guy always played Brian, one guy always played Lily, one guy always played Steve, and then there was me. And I got my ass kicked like all the time, which is why I decided that I wanted to like... Because we met up every weekend, I didn't want to lose every time. So I started learning about, you know, how to actually play the game and writing stuff down and learning a couple of characters. And then I eventually became probably the best player in that group. But it took a really long time. So there's a huge, like, process when it comes to learning the game. And you can't just, like, change one thing or think a little bit different and now you've solved your problems. But there's no reason your character, I think you said Kanzia, right? Should like struggle a lot against those other characters and not be able to beat them. Kanzia does fine in those matchups, even though they are difficult matchups for anybody. It's really hard to play Feng against Feng and against Huarong because they're very good, right? And that's going to be true no matter how good you become. Feng players at your level will still be difficult to defeat, right? But again, you just got to give it time, right? But having friends that you want to beat, having rivals, people who you meet up with and play with offline that you really want to beat, it's like one of the best and most magical gifts. That's the motivation that gets people really good. You talk, you know, with people who've been playing Tekken for a long time and gotten very good, and it's always about how, you know, started out in the arcade or playing with friends, and we were having fun, and then the game falls into your heart and becomes a bit of an obsession, and then at some point, you know, before you know it, you're playing it quite well. Alright, Lay7, I can get to red ranks with Claudio easy, which I know isn't impressive. Well, it's not unimpressive. It entirely depends on what you're comparing to. But my god, man, I can never get past green ranks with Xiaoyu. Well, that's like a big gap, right? There's a big gap between green ranks and red ranks. So, there you go. I've played some, like, well-known, extremely good players, like pro players, who are playing a character that they don't normally use. And they make mistakes and they're, you know, unfamiliar the same way you are. What's up, old man Fogan? I've had my coffee, I'm going to move on to water. Arcade stick better than controller? Like the most common question that you get. Do you want to do it again? Or have I talked about this enough times, do you think? Arcade stick is not a better controller. Arcade stick and pad are both able to take you all the way. It's just preference. And that's not a diplomatic answer. If one was like objectively better, you know, we'd know. Question for Brian mains out there. Well, what do you need? You've come to the right person. So I just got my ass beat by a guy who's doing taunt into back 4 into jet upper consistently at the wall after I tech roll. I noticed the health bar never reset. I got hit by the taunt, meaning that the taunt into back 4 into jet upper looked like it comboed. Yeah, that's a combo. It works. Thank you, Gorgie. Been around since like early Tekken 7 days. Glad to see how much you've grown. Hope live streaming works out. Thank you so much. We'll see what happens. I'm not getting my hopes up, but just doing this, just sitting here and talking to you guys doing this is like more than cool enough. It's already working out. We're here. So yeah, that Brian combo is a real combo. It's just the taunt opens up enough of an advantage window that the second move is guaranteed. The second move opens up enough of a large enough advantage window that the third hit is guaranteed. But the third hit is the launching hit, but it's all a combo. That's just how Brian works. And it's broken. It's another Lily artist who hasn't emphasized the thighs at all. Should Tekken replace Jin with a new main character after Tekken 8? I don't know if I think Jin is the main character of Tekken anymore. Is he? I mean, in Tekken 6, he tried to... He started a world war that killed like thousands of people so that he could stop Azazel, who was going to be even worse. But isn't that a classic supervillain plot from like a movie? Where the hero goes, you know, there has to be some other way. And he's like, there isn't. And he's going to do the thing that shoots the laser up into the sky so that, you know, people can watch it from afar. And there's like an epic battle. It's the classic like supervillain argument, right? The lesser of two evils. Jin is just, I mean, as a character, I know he plays different and stuff, but as a character, he's literally just Kazuya again. And he was supposed to replace Kazuya. He's like Kunimitsu getting a daughter. But then they brought Kazuya back. Thank you again, Lay7. I'm gonna go now. Get beat up with Xiaoyu some more. If that's the character you want to play, that's the character you want to practice right now. Just keep doing it, and eventually you're gonna be amazing. You just spend time on it. It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. I remember asking Tanakana that when I met her. I said, you know, what's like the one tip for people who are struggling? And right away she said, it's just time. It's not really about how good you are as much as it is about how long you've been working on it. Hey Frame, you got Lee back 2 loops. I practiced it in Tag 2 because I wanted to try to play Lee Violet in Tag 2. So I did learn it, or could sort of do it back then, but I haven't tried like a single time in T7, so probably not, no. I don't think I could do it if I tried. Did you end up trying Asuka? If so, what do you think? Yeah, this is a good question, right? I made a whole video thing. I was going to learn Asuka after the poll. It was going to be a whole thing, right? I made like 2 videos about it, and then the Asuka gameplay videos never came. And I'm going to tell you guys why that is. What happened was I really learned a lot about the character, like as much as I could, and then I played her for a bunch of matches. Like I played her for a couple of days, and it was the most uncomfortable I've ever been with any character in any fighting game I've ever played. I've never disliked controlling a character as much as I disliked controlling Asuka. It was so uncomfortable. It was like the opposite of everything I like to do when I play the game. So it was like controlling a refrigerator that you're sitting inside of was the feeling. Like the poke him was awkward and slow, and I mean I don't think she's a bad character at all. I don't think she's bad. It's just like the things that you have to do to play her. I don't know. I hated it. And I really like did my absolute best to not hate her, but I couldn't do it. I don't know how Fergus like stands it. Now I need to learn Brian. Maybe I will. Wouldn't be an epic troll if it turns out that I was actually a pretty decent Brian player all along and I don't mind him. I guess you'll never know. I have a quick bit of advice for all those with 50 to 100 win streaks because your save data was corrupted. Tekken has been out long enough to know this problem. Apparently it's quite common, so back up your save somewhere so you don't have to keep smurfing through the lower ranks, that's all. Well, here's the thing, right? It's really funny to me that you want to lay that at the feet of the people who are smurfing and not at the feet of the people who have made a game with an online mode that is held together with duct tape and blue tack and that just breaks down all the time so that we have to find workarounds. I mean, if you're playing a smurf who has 50 to 100 wins streaking, they're not a huge problem for you because they're gonna pass by where you are now and then they're going to be gone forever unless they have another corrupted save in the future, right? And here's the other thing, they don't have a choice. If they want to play the game after the data is corrupted, they have to start from the beginning and rank up. There's no way they could just like call Namco and say, I'm actually pretty high ranked, so could you just bump me up to where I was? You know what I mean? Because I've had that happen to me, and you say like, okay, you can back up your save. Maybe that's a good idea, but first of all, we definitely should not have to go in and mess with our own save data just to be able to reliably play a game. Those files just should not be local. They should be stored somewhere by Namco, and then Namco should have their own backups for that in case something happens. Do you know what I mean? The problem is that the fact that the files are local. But like I said, I've never modded the game. I've never touched the save data or anything. I don't know how that stuff works because I'm bad with technology. I really am. And I'm pretty old. So if I'm required to like back up my save data, I don't know how I would like do that and how it would work. Do you know what I mean? So like if you want to save a backup, I think it's a great idea to have it there if the game breaks and you have to fix it for them. But I don't think it's our responsibility, like at all. It's a few hours work, to be honest, to get your rank back. Yeah, I mean, if you're near max rank, it's 2 sessions. 2 long sessions though. It takes a while. There are a lot of ranks. And it's not like you're going to streak all the way. How to do the Shaheen stealth step into slide transition? Well, stealth step cancels into slide, which is kind of unique with down back. And it feels a little bit weird because you have characters like Leo who go into a crouch dash with a down forward input after a move, right? There are a couple of characters like that, but with Shaheen, you're going to do, I used to call it snake step. Is it actually called stealth step? Well, the one you do after sandstorm. So in a combo, like you do the 3, and then you go into the step, the stance. And then you have to do down back. So the way to practice that first part is when you do Shaheen's bread and butter combo, the one he uses now in this season, you can do it by going into the step and doing the 1, and that will float. But if you go into full crouch with down back and then do a while standing 1, it's kind of tight, but it's a better move and it does more damage. That's how you learn that part. And then all you have to do is you cancel with down back into the stealth step, and then you just do the regular slide input, which is full crouch. You go from down to down forward and then back, and then press the button. It's not that difficult to do. It's just a little bit unnatural, I think, maybe especially on D-pad, to stealth step and then down back, and then doing the tap for the slide mix-up. See you around, Gorgie. Thanks for watching. So that's how you do it. You have to be in full crouch before you do the slide, which is why it takes time, which is why it's impressive to be able to do it really quickly. Like somebody who's really good at like slide mix-ups with Law or Lee, they'll do it so fast that you like don't or barely see the crouch, right? Can you do Lee's mistrap move consistently? Stupid question since Lee ain't your main. I've basically not touched Lee a single time in this version of the game. So any Lee execution, I'm not your guy. But I've been watching this really cool young Swedish streamer called Flower, and I've played him a bunch. He's very, very good, even though he's new. So impressive. But his Lee execution is really good. Like he does the difficult punishes and everything, and he gets them like every time. So look up. He streams on Twitch. Flower. It's really good. Do you use frame data apps to check knowledge and stuff? I used to use what's it called? RB Norway. Back in the day when I was learning frame data for the first time. And that's where I checked it all out, and then I would write some stuff down. These days, no, because I know a lot of the frame data, and then I can use the frame data app or feature in the game if I want to check something. So I just go to practice mode, I set it up, and then I test it out. But very rarely now do I use any like third-party stuff to look up frame data. Basically never. Shoutouts to RB Norway. They did an amazing job all those years. Until Namco decided to, you know, be cool. What is the average rank of the current player base? Wish I knew. People have been saying it's still green ranks, but I don't know. I feel like people have gotten very, very good. You wish you knew frames like that? Well, you will. You will. And then you'll get it wrong and you'll be like, what? That's minus 13. I thought it was minus 14. And then you have to adjust. Like you never have like a perfect data bank that is just done and has all the frame data. You have a rough understanding of most of the necessary frame data. And then you learn new things and then you forget some things. And then you have people like, I bet, high level like pro players, they probably have more of that down than the average, you know, high ranked player. If you don't mind me asking, oh, Lee also has a similar slide input from Hitman that makes it come out quicker. It's very handy as well. Well, that's cool. I thought that was a crouch thing. If you don't mind me asking, what's your overall opinion on Steve Fox as a character? I never really hear you discuss him much. Do you think he's overpowered? Do you think it's a good design? You're right that I almost never talk about Steve because I don't really like have any experience with him, but he is like a very sort of specific character, you know. He's not generic like Shaheen where you can, you know, there's a bunch of stuff about him that I don't know, and it's the same reason you almost never hear me talk about Mishimas unless I'm talking about like playing against them or something like that. I don't try and like go into how they should be played or whatever, because there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know, and it'd just be better for you to go to somebody else who's like an expert on that sort of thing. But overall, I think the idea of Steve is a great idea. I think it's a good design. I don't love all of his moves right now, but for some reason, the characters that I play tend to have a very, very good matchup with Steve. I have fantastic matchups with Steve, to the point where he's like one of the few characters that if I'm playing Zafina, I'm very confident against Steve. If I'm playing Eliza, I feel strong against Steve. So and he's a great character. He's not, bad at all, but they just work against him. And I think it might be the counter hit lows going under a lot of the high stuff and still being able to catch him when he's moving sideways. So at least at down 4, Zaffine at down 3. But I think Steve is a great character design. Sometimes I've been frustrated playing against a really good one where I feel like it's just a wall that you can't get through. It's too perfect on defense because he has auto block on a lot of his stances, and so he's advancing on you and putting this pressure on you. And even though, you try and interrupt him and he just blocks every time. They should theoretically be the openings when you can actually do something against him. Again, I'm just not knowledgeable enough about it to either attack or defend. I can neither confirm nor deny, that Steve is super good or super bad or anything. I like him though. I like him. A lot of my friends play Steve. Would I ever pick up Yoshi? No, I don't think I would. It's possible. I really like him in Soul Calibur. Reese sent me here. You the main man, Sui. He has C. Of course I'm the main man. It would be weird if there was another Swedish guy talking about Tekken. I'm just going to keep on streaming, biding my time until the real main man dies from old age, and then maybe I'll have 3 good years where people actually watch me instead. What sort of new characters would you like to see in Tekken 8? I would like to see some more subdued and down-to-earth designs like we had in Tekken 6. Characters that feel like people, but still have a bit of personality. I think I like the fact that we have Kuma and Jack and stuff in the game, but I think we're going a little bit anime with a lot of stuff recently. Any aspirations to come stateside? I just spent a week with my cousin here in Sweden who's American. I have American family on my mother's side, and we were talking about a bunch of stuff we want to do. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go to America again. I love America. I wish I could be American almost. Maybe I'll try sometime. Apparently it's not easy. I love America. Okay, here's the thing. When you grow up in Sweden, because it's such a wannabe American kind of a country, you hear references to American stuff all the time in all the media you consume. You see it in movies, everything else. But, you hear about Fritos, and you hear about the DMV, and you hear about, dive bars, and you watch all these things. But it's almost like a Lord of the Rings, where all that exists in a weird fantasy world somewhere. And then you're a young kid and you go to New York City for the first time. Now, for a person who hasn't been in New York, that's amazing. The buildings and everything. It's a bizarre place. But coming from where I did, it was that plus the feeling of being in Narnia, because I was where all the movies happen, and all those characters from all those films walk and do things. And then, because even when I was a kid, I was really into David Lynch, and I have family out in Nevada, so we would drive on desert highways, and there would be bars and steakhouses with neon lights along these desert highways. And it was just this because I love movies and settings like that. It was so weird. There was an electricity in the air. It was being in a fictional place. And then I stayed at my cousin's house, and it was Halloween, and he took me and my sister trick-or-treating in an American suburb, which again, there's always a Halloween episode of, all the shows you watch, the Turtles, Turtles and all the rest of it. but you never really do Halloween right in Sweden. It never works the exact same way. So getting to do it when you go onto these lawns and there are like actors in the bushes and sound effects and music, and then we went home and we watched we went to an actual Blockbuster and we got House, which is an old classic horror film, not the TV show about Hugh Laurie. And I remember the tagline on the cover. It was like a zombie hand pushing the doorbell, and the tagline was "Ding dong, you're dead." And we laughed at that for like hours, and we watched that movie. But that was like one of the coolest experiences of my childhood. I love America. Wish I could go to America, but I'm stuck being a scuffed ESL. So I have to do the best I can. Yeah, I mean, like some of my best friends, like most of my best friends now are American. And it's funny because they say that I know like more about America than them. Um, like I was talking to my cousin's mother, who's from Wisconsin, and she was like, I love Jeopardy. And I'm like, oh, do you miss Alex? Because I know what goes on in the world of like American entertainment and stuff. I've been into it for years, and I was watching, when I was a kid, Seinfeld and all the rest of it. Frame thoughts on surströmming. I've never had it. Surströmming, unless, in case you didn't know, it's kind of like a Swedish meme. It's putrefied like fish meat that you eat out of a can, and it's so stinky that it's actually illegal to take it on a plane now, because I think somebody had a can in a bag that broke and people thought it was a gas attack, and they had to ground a plane. So you actually cannot bring surströmming traveling anymore, so you have to come to Sweden if you want to have it. But here's the thing. I don't know what country you live in, but I bet it has weird traditional food that people used to eat a long time ago, or maybe like some old people, if you go to the countryside and there's like a festival or a local thing. That's what surströmming is in Sweden. The average person here doesn't eat it. And hasn't tried it. I never have. The only member of my family who has is my dad, because he's from like an old Swedish West Coast family, and they have his parents still observe like a lot of Swedish traditions and stuff. But nobody else in my family's even tried it. I've never seen it. I think my grandmother loves it. So it's like a sardine can, kind of, but it's actually putrefying to the point where even though it's a steel can or a metal can, I don't know what it's made from, it's actually bulging to the point of almost exploding with the gases inside. What's up, the Game Pilgrim? Is it possible to have all player stats max to S+? It might be, but if you want to get it, I think, unless some of them, like if you progress some of them, it actually eats into and makes the others worse, right? So I mean, maybe if you have really high combo damage all the time, that's going to affect your tenacity or something. Or maybe you spend less time moving, I don't know. But I have played a couple of people who have triple S on the screen. Yeah, UK, jelly deals. I mean, I've been to like a bunch of countries. I mean, I lived in Japan for a long time. You can eat some weird stuff in Japan, especially if you get local. And I was, hanging out and working with all my Korean and Chinese friends. They eat some stuff, but it's like, it's weird when it becomes like a famous Swedish thing and most Swedish people haven't heard of it, because I think the sad truth is these days, most of us probably eat very similar things. I think Sweden is the largest consumer, per capita in the world of tacos. We eat tacos every week in Sweden. It's a national dish. I think we eat more tacos than Mexicans. With shitty grubs. What's up, Mudo? Johan Larsson. Can you upgrade the original edition to definitive? I think the whole point of those editions is that you're not going to be able to get everything you want unless you make multiple purchases. So you're probably just going to have to buy the things you want. So figure out if buying another edition is like less or more expensive than just buying the characters and the content that you want. But did you guys see that? That was so weird. They're releasing a new Sonic game, and they made one of those really embarrassing like spreadsheets where you could see the different editions of the game, and it was like everything that was included in each edition, but they didn't have any extra features. Like the game had no extra features at all that they could include, but it still had like 5 different editions. And I think one of them was like you buy the extra super fun for kids edition, and the only thing that changes is when you're on the main menu, the like Sonic characters run around in the menus, but you had to like buy a separate edition of the game just to get that. I mean, it's obvious that they're being told now that they have to make multiple editions because the math is in and people buy the same game more than once. At which rank is actually a good rank to be satisfied that, yes, I'm good at Tekken if I'm a beginner starting from teal rank? It's gonna be entirely dependent on like what you're aiming for. For me, like when I start to notice that players seem very good for the most part, is Raijin and up. At least that's what I used to say when I was in Japan. It's a little bit different here. I've never said that I think like Europe is bad at this game or anything, but I just felt that it was more difficult to rank up specifically in Japan. And the pity point system where you get extra points or more points for winning than you lose for losing stops at Fujin, which means that Raijin is the first rank you really have to like earn without any help. But Raijin is a really high rank, and if you're at teal, that's far away, and it's going to take a while to get there. So I would say don't worry about this is the thing, right? Don't have a goal or a place you want to get to. Instead, obsess about your progress. Just look back on your progress the whole time. And you can't look back like, oh, I'm worse now than I was yesterday, or better, but like, a couple of months. And as long as you're doing different things and getting a bit better now compared to 6 months ago, then you're heading in the right direction. And then you're going to be, where you want to be eventually. But having like a goal rank, it becomes counterproductive, because I think you end up thinking a lot about the fact that you're worse than all these other people. And I don't think that's a good mindset to be in when you're trying to learn and like do well. I'm at work listening about my favorite game. Yeah, I hope, that's kind of what this Tekken and Coffee, Tekken's or Frames Bar was supposed to be. Like something you can have on and not really necessarily focus on that much, but it's like on a topic you enjoy at least. People could fall asleep to and stuff, Got my save data corrupted, but, well, there you go. And this person, like, only has one choice now. I was true Tekken God, yeah, and now you're gonna have to get it back. So I don't think it's fair to be pissed with a person like this when they're just trying to, as fast as possible, just rank through. I don't think that's smurfing. It's the game not working well and the players having to suffer because of it. By the way, Frame, do you have one last crazy story from Japan before leaving? Like running into a gang? I have a lot of weird stories about Japan. I was there for a long time. And the thing is, right, I see a lot of these YouTube videos. I was going to make a whole video about this. I see a lot of these YouTube videos like 10 things you can never do in Japan, you know. Or how to, you know, do something properly in Japan. Don't do this because it will be considered very rude and stuff. And I meet people like that, or I did when I was over there. And, you know, you have a lot of people who like work in an international company. They never really learn the language. They're almost like tourists there for a long time. Or you have people who are really into the anime and game stuff, and they go straight to Akihabara and they buy their figures and posters and stuff. But there was like a difference between them and me and my friends who like became, I mean, underpaid and struggling workers, like of the Japanese working class. We had like shit jobs when we had to go to immigration and get papers, and people would like ask to see our papers, and I was almost thrown out of the country at one point, because you need to have like, you know, employment, you need to be university educated, it's this whole thing. So we like you know, I didn't live in the city. I lived in like, you know, the suburban neighborhood. It's a bad neighborhood. It used to be like one of the worst neighborhoods in the country to live. Now it's really cool because it's all old people. So I would just go into local bars and stuff and hang out with Japanese people who were 70, 80 years old, and we would watch boxing and baseball, and they taught me about baseball. But they were like like gangsters. They were people who used to be like dangerous a long time ago, but a lot has happened, and you know, they're all old people now. But it was really cool. It was never boring. But yeah, a lot of stuff happened. I bet we're gonna tell more stories at some point. But it's weird, you know, you live somewhere for 8 years and somebody asks you like, how was it? And I think those 8 years contain both the best moments and the worst moments of my life so far. But if I'm going to look back at it sort of as a result, like what was the end result of it? I live here in Sweden with you know, my girlfriend now. I met her there, and it's like by far the best relationship I've ever had. It's really cool. So I definitely can't complain. Did you meet anyone with a full back tattoo? That's called a wabori in Japanese, and it's a kind of tattoo that you have. I mean, you probably know, but they were like you know, popular with the Yakuza specifically. So you had those if you were a gang member. And I met people who had waboris, and I met people who were missing fingers as well. It's not a big thing anymore, I think, but at least, you know, in the past, when you disobeyed an order or you failed, you know, your boss, you would have to pay with a finger, and I think they would start with the pinky. So if you had a missing pinky finger, that was an indication that you were a gangster. Honest character recommendation, Miguel. Always feel good about recommending Miguel. There are no bad people who play Miguel. What's the vibe in Sweden with the whole NATO thing? Just curious. Well, I like, as a rule, don't get into stuff like that. But yeah, it is happening, and people are worrying about it. For sure. It's a historic thing for this part of the world. Brian, honest character. Sure, you just need to take away his top 20 moves. And then you need to cut his combo damage down by about 50%. Combo carry by 50%. Then he's fine. Has the tattoo culture changed? Is it still seen as delinquent, as a delinquent type thing? Well, no, you still cannot go in any public bathhouses or onsens if you have any tattoo on your body at all. So even, you know, girls who have like a little feather under their left tit, or, you know, carpe diem on their neck or whatever, can't get in. So I sometimes had people like ask me, where do I go if I want to try a hot spring, but I have tattoos. So I knew, like, in the city I lived in, which was a pretty big city, Fukuoka, you know, million plus people, there's like one or two places that would allow you to go in even if you were tattooed. But that also probably means that if you go there, you will hang out with gangsters, because that's the only option they have. But it's a very everyday thing, you know. It's not like meeting a unicorn running into the Yakuza. They're a heavily integrated part of Japanese society. And you start working in restaurants or hotels or gambling, you know, they run that world. No tram stamps allowed. Yeah, Katarina can't go bathing in Japan, I'm afraid. And they almost won't let you in the ocean either. Like if you just go down to the ocean and jump in and it's not swimming season and you're in the right area, police will show up. It's very different to Sweden, where we have this. It's one of the coolest things about Sweden. We have this law called allemansrätten, but it just means that nature is like one big reserve almost that belongs to the people. So you're allowed to use the lakes and the forests and the mountains any way you would, as long as you don't do lasting harm to them. So I could go out and have a fire in the forest. I could do barbecue, camping, swimming wherever I want, as long as I don't, like, you know, leave garbage around or start a fire. So yeah, it's very different. Hello, Prashant Tiwari. Hey, so crazy I get to catch you online. I'm happy to have you here. I'm sorry this one isn't like super entertaining. We're just kind of hanging out. It's a just talking stream, I guess. But just wanted to say thanks. Your old Leo guide for T7 Vanilla helped me learn the game. Thank you so much, RDB. Thank you for being here. But this is, again, just to try the setup, see that this works, which means that we can do, we can watch stuff together. We can do stuff like this where we talk about things together. Because I do a lot of videos that aren't necessarily gameplay, and I wanted to know, can we do that in a live format? And then I can edit this down and turn it into something for YouTube. But it seems to be working fine. Greetings from Switzerland. Hello, Dave. You know, my grandpa is from Switzerland. He's Swiss. He's a really cool guy. Like, it's such a shame, you know, because you're so stupid when you're a kid. You don't realize how awesome old people can be. I hung out with so many cool old people in Japan, like I told you. Like, we would, you know, just hang out and drink and watch sports in bars. But I recently started talking, like, a lot to my Swiss grandfather. And he was like, yeah, you know... And he started talking about his childhood, how he grew up in these like small mountain villages, and he went to one school until like 4th grade, and everything was in German. But then they didn't have the next school he needed to go to, like middle school in his village, so he had to get on a bike for miles and go to a different village. But there, all the school, like all the schools and all the literature, it was all in French. So he had to switch his main language in school from German to French, like in a day. And he was telling me all these stories about like how he would hang out in bakeries and sneak bread and stuff. You know, you grow up and you really start talking to your parents and grandparents like they're people, and it turns out that they're, you know, sometimes that they're really awesome. You know, my Swiss grandpa used to work in Iraq. And he was talking to me about how they were like they were building mines or something out in the desert in Iraq. And then all of a sudden people started panicking one day and they had to get out of the country because Saddam Hussein was taking over Iraq. So they had to like, you know, try and escape and get in cars and get the whole camp. Like, there's some cool stories. And there's a picture of him. It was the most epic picture I've seen of like any member of my family ever. It's my grandpa in his like tiny Speedos on a lawn chair in the middle of the Iraqi desert. So it's on a sand dune. I mean, it looks like out of a mummy movie. And he's in his Speedos, oiled up with like sun tanning oil, sunglasses on, and then he holds a big mirror in his lap so he can get the fucking desert sun from 2 angles at the same time. Can you speak more than 3 languages? Not really. I was into languages when I was a kid, and I started learning Spanish, first French, and then Spanish in school. And then when I was 16, I went for one semester to Spain, and I ended up living in a hotel and going to a school where all the other students, for some reason, were an all-female French Catholic school. So I was supposed to be in Spain learning Spanish, but I was living around a lot of French people and going to school with French people. And then because I knew a little bit of French, all like my Swedish friends and the girls from the French Catholic school wanted to hang out, but they couldn't talk to each other. So I sort of ended up in the middle doing a lot of translating. So that at that point, I think my French and my Spanish were okay. But then I haven't really used them much at all for many, many years. And then, Japanese was another country that I wanted to go to, so ended up going there. How difficult was it to learn Japanese? Well, thing about Japanese, it's in that top 3 of the most difficult modern languages to learn. I don't know if that list is true, but they say it's Mandarin, Chinese, Japanese, and Arabic, right? But the Japanese language is like all about, grammatically it's actually pretty easy compared to like a Latin language, because of verb conjugations. So if you start learning French or Spanish, I mean, many of you speak them already, but you know that you can conjugate a verb in many different ways. And you have stuff in French like passé simple, which is like a tense of verb that you use mainly in literature. It gets really weird. And you can conjugate sometimes a single verb up to, I think, like 112 different ways in French. But in Japanese, there's like there are 2 different tenses, one for present tense and future, and then one for past. And then there are a couple of other forms that are specific to Japanese, like the te, so tabete. But if you have the boy who draws, I notice you. I see you guys. So verb conjugation in Japanese is really easy compared to a lot of other languages, but learning to read and write is incredibly difficult, to the point where most Japanese people struggle to read a newspaper because it just has so much in it. And unlike modern Chinese, where they have noticed that the writing system is very historical and very beautiful, but it's inefficient compared to something like an alphabet, like the Roman alphabet, where you can construct all the different sounds from individual letters, as opposed to in Chinese, where you represent them with corresponding images. And then in Japanese, you do something similar to the Roman alphabet, but you build it on syllables. So you have exactly half the flexibility in terms of your ability to create words with that writing system. I know this is getting a little bit like, but basically learning to speak and understand Japanese is not that hard. Learning to read and write it is extremely hard. And the Japanese are so, they never want to, they call it bunka no kihaku, to let the culture be thinned out. They don't want it to be, it's one of the reasons you have a lot of resistance to immigration in Japan. They want Japan to be traditionally Japanese as much as they can. So they're never going to simplify or change the writing system to make it more modern. It's going to be like this forever. How similar is Mandarin kanji to Japanese kanji? Well, they used to be pretty much the same. The entire Japanese writing system comes from China, and you will never hear Japanese people admit or talk about this, but it is entirely a Chinese daughter culture. The food, the language, everything else. But they've been separated for so long that they've obviously both changed. But hiragana and katakana are also just modified, simplified versions of the original Chinese kanji. So these days, again, they've gone in different directions, they've changed, and Mandarin has been simplified in a lot of ways. But a Chinese person could look at written Japanese and understand what it is about and understand the context. And I think vice versa most of the time. But some of the words still sound sort of the same, So you hear people say Fuji-san when they talk about Mount Fuji. So the sun right there is the mountain part, and I think san or jiang or something like that is still mountain in Chinese. So the very basic words, sui for water and stuff like that, are still the same. I heard you mention Melee a couple of times on the channel. What do you think about the game? Well, Melee and Smash Brothers was like a thing I grew up playing with my friends all the time. And we played it for, I've, no joke, thousands and thousands of hours. Big shout out to IMOP. Really cool Tekken YouTuber, been growing super fast. He's a great guy, friend of the channel. But yeah, we played a lot of Melee, like constantly, and we were never good at it. We didn't know back then because it wasn't really on the internet that there was like a serious competitive scene. If I'd known that, I'd probably, have gotten more into it and maybe like try to learn. But I didn't know like at the same time in Sweden, Armada, Leffen, these guys were like taking that game to a completely different level. So it's a childhood memory and it's nostalgic, but I never got good at it, Just me and my friends playing it, kind of like you and your friends play Mario Kart, just brawling and hanging out. The English language is, I think, the most beautiful language in the world to like listen to, that I like love to be around, is Spanish. But English is amazing, and I really notice it now when I'm back in Sweden, how when I want to say something in Swedish, I'm very limited and I have to come up with a way, whereas in English I have like 16 different ways I can do it, and you get to, it's so much easier to express yourself because you can pick between options. I think English, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard it has like a lot more words than most other languages. I think it's like a lot more in terms of just vocabulary. I've gotten 5 desyncs in the last hour of playing ranked. Well, that's rough. Are you a Naruto, Bleach, or One Piece kind of guy? Good question. Definitely Bleach. I was a big Bleach fan. I watched all the long, never-ending filler arcs of that poor anime. Was it was sad because it was like every character was like cool. You wanted to know about the character, the sword, if they were going to have a bankai. You want to know what it was going to be like. I was deep into Bleach, but they are making the Blood War, the final arc of Bleach, into a new anime now, and I haven't watched anime for like a decade. I haven't watched anime for a long time. Basically, before I moved to Japan, I was already like completely done with it. But if there's a final season of Bleach and they do the Blood War, yeah, I'm gonna have to get back into anime because I loved Bleach. I read Berserk too. Only read it though. But this is the thing. Like, I was a huge weeb from between like 12 and maybe 17, 18. And I watched, any anime you can mention from before then I've probably seen, because it was like everyday hours. And then when I was like 17, 18, I just stopped. And then I did eventually move to the country. So by the time I went, I was completely uninterested in all those things. So it's kind of weird how there's like an inner suppressed weeb somewhere. But I did watch and read One Piece, and all my friends were really into Naruto, so I sort of kept up with it. But what I will say about Naruto is that I watched the whole thing to the end, and I think it's, out of all those really big like Shonen Jump ones, bye-bye. Thanks for stopping by. I think Naruto was the only one that really managed to end really well. The ending of Naruto was pretty perfect, honestly. It was honestly pretty perfect the way they ended Naruto, because it went for how long? It must be like a decade and a half at least, right? but it started with certain themes and things it was like trying to be about, and then it was about those things for a really long time, and then it concluded those things at the end, right? What's up, IMOP? So I felt the whole thing about Naruto was this. It was about like, you can work really hard or you can be like talented. And both are valid paths to power. Both are like, can take you to powerful places, but compassion ultimately trumps. I think Naruto gets to win in the end because he chooses to be a good person, right? And if you look at the characters in Naruto, that shows up everywhere, because you've got Rock Lee and he can't do ninja stuff, but he works the hardest. Naruto is like an idiot, but he works really hard. And then you have all these other characters throughout the show who are like born into special bloodlines or have sort of special built-in, you know, talent. And then it has to be Naruto and Sasuke at the end because that's what they represent. But Naruto doesn't win because he becomes more powerful, but because he finally convinces Sasuke to love him back. Like, so it's like, and I also like that when both of their hands explode, you could see their blood sort of mixing on the ground, kind of in the shape of a heart. So it was cold, calculating power, sort of surrendering to love and friendship, which is corny. But I mean, how many like shonen animes have like genuine themes that they work on, and then they actually do something like that at the end that works? Naruto doesn't work hard at all, dude. Oh, it's true. He shouldn't have had a built-in fox. The fact that Naruto has a built-in dog kind of shits on that concept, because he also, you know, ends up having a lot of built-in like power. Yeah. Did I see Hell Chapter, the Bleach film? Yeah, I did. I watched it with my friends while playing Tekken, actually, many years ago. Do you guys have anything else you want to do while we're here? Do you want to like watch some main man videos or? Yeah, Naruto works hard. The only animes I could watch like after I sort of stopped were animes that like make fun of animes. So Gintama, I watched a bit of One Punch Man. Do I think the Tekken anime is going to be good? I don't know. I don't think so. I probably won't watch it. I think they're doing the same animation style as the Berserk remake, which wasn't very good. Watch Frame Whisper videos. Self-insertion on my own stream. I'm not going to sit here and self-insert, guys. Do you think movement should be simplified in exchange for more difficult execution? Also, thoughts on Dragon Ball Z? I never really liked Dragon Ball Z. I was never a big fan of it, honestly. I saw the anime before I read it, and I thought the anime was. I didn't think it looked good. I think it had silly like character design and everything, and just wasn't into it at all. But then I read some of the early, not Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball manga, and. It had so much more charm. That sort of, Dragon Questy kind of charm, Akira Toriyama kind of charm, where the world was like fleshed out and felt lived in, and the character designs had a lot more like, they felt, I don't know, more charming on the page. Reacting to your first video. I think my first ever video was like an hour-long Miguel guide, so that's not going to be... React to Main Man's reaction to your Brian video? Maybe next time. Continuation on the Tekken 7 lore. Well, I did a video about like what I would have done with the story. Did I post that? Did that go up? I don't think there's going to be a continuation of the Tekken 7 lore. I think they're going to just like forget about it and start over with the same generic thing again. Thanks, Inform. Matches tourney. I'd love to do matches in a tourney, but not in this stream because I'm not set up for gameplay right now. But next stream I'll definitely be playing the game again. Yeah, Blasted Salami Guide for Lee. I'm so glad he's back and doing things. He's been a real friend and a super cool guy, so I'm happy to have him back on YouTube. Do you still play Guilty Gear? No, not really. It was really good though. It's a lot of fun. Do you think Kazuya will die? I hope so. But even if he dies in Tekken 8, he will be in Tekken 8, which means that we have at least another decade of Kazuya existing, so, you know. If he dies now in a trailer for Tekken 8, and then we realize that he won't be in Tekken 8 because he's already dead, that would be the funniest thing ever, because then we do reaction videos to all the Kazuya boys when they find out that there's no Kazuya anymore. So I hope Kazuya dies in a trailer for Tekken 8. That would be so sick. React to the Swedish kid who hates JB. Okay, let's do this actually. I have a favorite YouTube video of all time that I saw this year. And I send it to everybody. I think I've had Spaghetti Rip watch it on his stream. I haven't watched it on mine. This is the hardest I've ever laughed probably at YouTube video ever. So we're gonna stop the music for a little bit. Am I in the way with the camera? It doesn't matter, you just have to listen to it. So let me know if you can still hear the volume, okay? This is the best thing ever.
Get off the game, go to the bathroom and take a shit. Now. Hey. Bathroom and shit now.
Can you hear the mom? Is she picking up?
Hey, get out. Go to the bathroom. I can smell you shitting yourself. Get up and go to the bathroom. Now. No. Get up and go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom. You're shitting yourself. Go to the bathroom.
His voice.
Not yet. No.
Low volume. Okay. I'll turn it up a little bit.
Get up and go to the bathroom.
What about now?
Demetrius, get off the game, go to the bathroom and take a shit. Now. Hey. Bathroom and shit now. Go to the bathroom and take a shit. I can smell you. Get off.
Hey,
go to the bathroom.
Get out.
Go to the bathroom. I can smell you shitting yourself. Get up and go to the bathroom. Now.
No.
I can smell it.
Get up and go to the bathroom.
Not yet. What the hell?
Go to the bathroom. You're shitting yourself.
Not yet.
Go to the bathroom. You're shitting yourself.
Not yet. No.
I will rip everything apart. I swear. Go to the bathroom.
Not yet.
You're shitting yourself.
Not yet.
You're shitting yourself. Poop is coming out of your fucking
Hey.
asshole. Go to the bathroom.
Not yet. What the hell?
Go.
Not yet. No.
Go to the goddamn bathroom.
Not yet.
Oh god. Like, what's the point of streaming? People have already done, like, the funniest stuff. I'm never going to be able to keep up with guys like that. I'm never going to be that funny. Not yet. The comments are amazing too, but the funniest thing is, the comment that I saw is that it's like a single player game. It's not like he's playing online. He can just pause it. It's completely real. It's called Go to the Bathroom. First time I saw it, it had like 2,000 views. I can't imagine why it didn't blow up, because it is like one of the best things ever made. Born to game, forced to shit. Hello, Pat Stiffer. I've had a great day so far. It's been a great day. Woke up, hung out with my family for a bit, took a walk in the woods. I live near a forest now, which is amazing. I see like moose and deer all the time. Had some lunch. Now I'm streaming. Then I'm going to have some Italian food, and I'm going to watch maybe some Marvel movies. I don't know what I'm in the mood for. You know, my American cousin who was here was really trying to get me to watch the new Jackass Forever. I really need to get around to that. Jackass is one of those things where it was like way too clever for me when I was a kid. I didn't like enjoy Beavis and Butthead. I didn't enjoy Starship Troopers. Like, I didn't get Paul Verhoeven at all. And then, like, finally I was old enough to see how good it is. And I'm a huge fan of Jackass, so I'm going to watch Jackass Forever tonight, probably. And I might do a review. I can't believe they got everybody back. What's up, Otheos? Chicken parm? I don't know. It's been made for me. I don't know what I'm gonna have. I know it's Italian food. It smells. I can smell through two doors. I can smell the garlic bread. So I know the garlic bread game is gonna be really sick. I noticed something. You know, people use baguettes to make garlic bread, right? And if you get like an expensive like sourdough version or whatever, it's so much worse for garlic bread than just getting the really, really cheap stuff. As long as it was made that day and it's soft, you can turn it into top tier garlic bread, right? Because you don't want it to be so hard on the edges that they cut the inside of your mouth. And they need also, like, when you make like really tough garlic bread, it's good for like a couple of minutes, but then it goes cold and it's so hard. It needs to retain moisture so that you can enjoy garlic bread throughout the meal. Otherwise, there's no point. All right, guys, we've been going for about 2 hours. I'm out of topics to talk about. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up? Good night, Isaac McDonald. Thanks for being here. Garlic bread does need to be smooth like butter. Or the butter in the garlic bread makes it smooth. Tony Hawk's Underground, yeah. I played a lot of skating game. I did a little bit of skateboarding. I could like ride the board and do an ollie. But it was a huge thing in Sweden. I don't know when the next stream is going to be, but the next one we're going to obviously play the game. Or play a game. Probably Tekken. I might get Elden Ring for the next one. I mean, we had some big donations this time. Oh my god. Froggy Viewer, thank you so much. Hey Frame, do you know the channel Buff Gigas Please? I know Buff Gigas Please. He's a friend of the channel. I think we've sent comments or messages back and forth a little bit. I think he's great. I think some of these videos where he's done like modded moves and stuff for characters are really interesting. It's just fun how like Tekken isn't in a great place right now, so people are like inventing ways to enjoy it, you know. It's kind of like speed running. Like you've played the game a billion times and there's nothing left to do in it. So now you're gonna see if you can do it fucking blindfolded, sitting upside down. But you have to like invent a new version of the game, like 3-dimensional chess, because otherwise it's just a little bit too painful. That's a great channel. All of you, check out Buff Gigas, please. I wish I could do like more community shout outs. So many cool people talking about this game out there. When you were younger, did you think that you would stop playing video games when you grew up? I don't know. I think I probably expected to. Thank you, Ultra Instinct Josie. He's another YouTuber and a friend of the channel. Check him out. Been in the comments for a long time. I appreciate you too. Thank you so much. You know, I had this thing like I'm going to grow up and then I'm going to be probably more serious and not play video games. But I knew since I was really small that I never wanted to have kids. And then everybody else says, you know, well, that's going to change. Something's going to happen and you're going to feel different about it. But now I'm like, I'm 32 and it hasn't changed. And I'm with a girl who I want to be with for as long as possible. And she's not interested either. So... and then we've seen this whole thing now with, you know, video games are a very different thing now compared to when I was a kid. When I was playing like 16-bit games and it was kind of a fringe thing that not a lot of people knew about. Now it's a much bigger industry than like film. So it's very different. I don't think I'm ever going to stop playing video games. And I feel like we've also seen proof that there's no need for you really to think that way anymore. I bet that, for example, Eris is going to be going for a lot longer than this, and I bet that he's going to stay popular. And you can also tell that, like, maybe I'll do, because I feel like one thing he's done a little bit, or a lot, is that he stopped trying to play the games really well necessarily, and he tries to enjoy playing them as much as possible and have fun with them and with his chat, right? And then he ends up doing sick things like the fucking door clip in Crying Is Not Enough and stuff like that. I'd like that to happen to me. I would like to start morphing into a player who just plays for like pure enjoyment, because you can be like, I bet you can be like a really successful Tekken YouTuber, and as long as people have fun listening to you and there's like a good vibe, it doesn't matter if you like win tournaments and stuff. Yeah, I bet I'm going to be playing video games forever as long as they stay good. If I get into something else that I like more, like I'm really into Warhammer lately. I know Main Man has been getting into 40k, but that was like a really big interest of mine too. I never played it in matches, but the whole idea of like you have a model and you're gonna paint it in a way where you're creating deliberately spaces for the eyes to rest by creating fake light using color. And then the characters have all this like really cool lore and books you can read and stuff. So who knows? But I'll probably be playing video games. I mean, for as long as it stays enjoyable, for sure. Thank you very much, Natural Order. Thank you so much. Way too kind. And you know, my dad is 65 now, and he plays video games all the time. When I was a kid, my first ever video game was the first Sonic the Hedgehog. And I had Outrun on the Mega Drive, which you call the Genesis in the US. And in the first ever Sonic the Hedgehog, there's the Labyrinth Zone. And the boss of the Labyrinth Zone is like an underground thing where it fills up with water. And you have to climb really quickly, and there's spikes, and if you mess up and fall, you go down and you drown in the water. And that game like famously plays this really stressy music when you're about to drown. It's horrible to listen to. So I'd be like scared of that boss fight, and I'd have my dad do it. But now my dad is super into open world third person action games. He loves Assassin's Creed, and he has 100% completion, I think, in every main series Assassin's Creed game up until this point. And he's still playing Valhalla now. But he comes to me now when he has like a difficult fight, like the Cyclops in Odyssey, and he was like, "Could you?" Because you know I've been playing video games for so long, even if I'm not like good at Assassin's Creed, third person action. Okay, that's the dodge button. You know, if you've played a lot of Dark Souls, you can probably do all right at Assassin's Creed. Yeah. So if my dad can play games and enjoy them at 65, then you know so can I. Creed Black Flag is really good too. Yeah, I love the ship mechanics in that one. Alright guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Now, hopefully I have it set up this time so that we will be able to watch a replay of the chat when this goes up on YouTube. I don't currently announce my streams anywhere because I don't have Twitter. I do a community post, which is on YouTube. But what I can do, somebody told me that you can do, is like schedule the stream. And then it shows up and it's like, you know, tune in at this time. And then I'll probably do that next. For Tekken 8, what do you think needs to be in the game in terms of flavor, costumes, animation, etc.? I don't know. It doesn't need to look a whole lot better than 7 because 7 still looks good. If they want it to look distinctly different from 7, I don't think it's going to be about the graphics being more advanced. I think it's going to be about it having a different art style. So, who knows? You know, Tekken 7 changed its art style at one point. If you look at early, like, arcade, and then when they went, they added so much more color to all the stages, and it went, like, a lot more, like, fuzzy and saturated. It looks very different. It's kind of like going from Diablo 2 to Diablo 3, where everything is, like, pastel. Alright guys, I'm going to turn the stream off. Just a short one. Thank you so much again to everybody who showed up. And to everybody who donated. I mean, that is more than enough money for me to go and buy Elden Ring. So if you want, I genuinely have not touched Elden Ring at all. So it can be a completely blind playthrough. The only thing I've seen is like Aerith kill the snake boss who really wants to be together. And I don't think he did it the way you're supposed to, based on his chat, so. And we'll play some more Tekken in the next one too, of course. Tournaments, you know. Thank you so much. This was lovely. I could get used to this for sure. All right, good night, guys. Thank you. See you next time.